making $1,000,000, yeah.
It's Bella Boy, yeah, rock fully, papi. One fully, papi. I say shake fully, papi. Rock fully, papi.
Baby, eat on my money and jump in my reserve. Make up on flick la Bugatti you deserve. Scatter les boss for les pions repair. Les pas tout mal à mes ma heart a chicleo. So get to me, sucker. Man, don't be a till I bluffer. You say you know say I got Fan get all about them freak call you. But how you really weak? Be me like me, get it freaky. My we feeling your pieces. Every day that you them freaky. Rock for big papa, hey, hey. Wine for big papa, nana. Shaku shaku for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Shake for big papa. That for big papa, guara guara for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Get ya peo, baby you for play. See the way you slay, la leka na tuma can kill.
Listen, we here tonight.
Bembe, bembe, Japene, bene, bembe, bembe, bembe.
Let's share the link.
We had all the money, oh.
I'm telling you, it ain't easy here.
Now the money can make it sunny, oh. Shake, break, break, shake. My we feeling the head rocket, shake it. Rock for big papa, hey, hey. Wine for big papa, nana. Shaku shaku for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Shake for big papa. That for big papa. Guara guara for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Make it clap. You got me singing like hallelujah. Ma, don't stop. I want amen, amen, yeah, hallelujah. Sha, sha, shaku. I won't be a fool. I let man go lolo.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, your boy Duke is back in the building. I'm out here with Emmer tonight, you know. We're getting set up on the back end. And while you're here, share the link for us. Let's get people and have a conversation, man. I'm telling you, tonight's gonna be great.
Shake it. Rock for big papa, hey, hey. Wine for big papa, nana. Shaku shaku for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Shake for big papa. That for big papa. Guara guara for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't get to me, man, don't be a killer. You say you know say Fan get all about them. Rock for big papa, wine for big papa, nana. Shaku shaku for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Shake for big papa, that for big papa, guara guara for big papa, yeah, yeah, yeah.
We own it.
You think how much in the Missy Jetta, y'all?
This one is Petty by the boy Kissy W.
Relationship now,
ladies and gentlemen, my name is Duke Estrada JJ tonight. I'm gonna be on the 1 and 2. Is that how they call it? That correct English? With the man Emmer Benson, the code was kicking it off live in the studio, all the way from Maryland. And I'm telling you, we're gonna bring the heat tonight. Doing our thing, trying to make this conversation about Liberia. And as I always say, man, Liberia is all we have, of course. We gotta do all we can to make sure we're erecting our checkpoints and educating our people. And everything that we can do to bring some kind of spotlight or attention to the conversation. My people, let's do it, yeah. And so before I bring Emmer on, let's go ahead and switch to this important. I want you to listen to this song. I'm telling you, Liberian music is going places. While you're watching us tonight, please do me a favor, share the link, get more people on. Let's pay attention to what we're doing. Your support is needed. We can't do this alone. However, I want you to listen to the song. And this one is with Skinny Boy Ponto. It is called Enemies, and I want you to listen to Liberia's problem right here.
Anybody, Banto, Alice Creep President. Trying to carry my country up. I trying to make the whole world to look out. I want where I be on the map. I want show the what I think we got to. Let the people that know who we are. I'm making them know who we are. So why I want God give me? So why I want God bring me down? If you push me down, I'll both of me, I will go up. I say I'm not coming down. I'm not coming down. You can push me down.
And shout out to Bertha Stewart.
I'm not falling
I see
down.
Rosalind Diggs. Y'all please share the link, my people. We're talking. We're inside tonight. It's always good to have all of your following. We're not here to joke. Liberia first.
They want me all the people that let me to hate me.
So my daughter made some nice tacos tonight. Tacos are lovely. Judith Carle. Brought some more good things, and so I'm going against my diet tonight, but we're on it.
Thank
you.
So why I want God bring me down? If you push me down, I'm not coming down. I'm not coming down. I'm not falling down. Just bring me down.
That's the boy, Skinny Boy Ponto. And like I said, I have my boy Emric Benson Nico here with me tonight. And you know, Emric, this song here is actually moving by Skinny Boy Ponto. Tyler, her music is actually going to higher heights. It's going places. And I just like to shout them on, send them shout out.
Dude, I wish the president can forget about putting out his music and then putting a lot into them.
I'm telling you. Emric was, you know, we're up late tonight. Excuse me. Sis Rebecca's in the house. My man Mitch is in the house as well. Mitch had a special advice that two things he wants. We can, you know, go out of that 25 miles radius, and then when we have a dog, don't take it out and out because the dog needs at least 30 miles to feel.
So like what we're going to do? We're going to tell Liberians when they say 25 miles radius and circumference, we're going to be able to tell them what it is.
Yes, awesome. So listen, yes, while we're here tonight, thank you so much, Avita. I appreciate all of you. Listen, first and foremost, we started Unapologetic. We took a little pause because we wanted to get some things right. So next weekend, we're going to be live on radio. We got some good news coming. Y'all stay tuned for the rest of the week. Y'all will see that. But tonight is a special version, special edition, because we feel there are so many things that have happened over the course of 24, 48 hours or even more. And we see an opportunity to bring some kind of conversation up, right? Something different to the conversation because we think that our voices, our presence actually needed. But as we always start, Emric, how are you today, man? How's it going?
I've been sick, you know, but I have to do this for Mama Liberia to come on and be able to, bring awareness to, you know, our issues that confronts the country every day. We are, you know, at a crossroad where when you lose one day of not discussing the issue, it's almost like a whole lot of people will be misled, and that's not what we want. So I'm hoping that we can get back on air and start to, you know, conscientize our people and remind them that when things are done the right way, we support it. When things are not done the right way, we need to come and speak against the issues.
And you're right about that. We have to collectively use our voice. My people, let me tell you something. It's not easy to do this, to be on social media, using your time, taken away from your career. You're sick. You know, Emric mentioned, Emric was actually sick. His eyes been hurting him. I've been sick. But, you know, we found that this thing sacrifice that comes a long way, and so we have to speak issue to better educate our people. And so this is why your support remains important. Your viewpoints remain important. I tell people all the time, don't mind that we go at it on social media. That it doesn't mean that we're people that can be talked to, right? We can have a conversation. We can actually listen to both ends. But tonight is serious business. And as Emmerich rightfully stated, every time we allow 1 hour, 2 hours, a day to go by, and we're not erecting checkpoints when it comes to the issue, then we're doing our people, disservice. So to kick it off tonight, you all saw the headings. We're gonna talk about, and I started with the thing, 5 million people versus Roxy. We're gonna talk about a deception per UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about President Weah's speech, and then pick it apart as Emmerich would say, and then we'll go into Margibi County, Nathaniel Mcgill, and a lot of the foolery that we see. We want to do that because we think it's important to educate people here quickly. So again, I want to say thanks to all of you for following us, for listening. As you come here, share the link. Let's get it in front of the eyes of many people. Please, please, please. That helps us to reach our target audiences, to make sure that people are catching the quality in our voices and this kind of message that we educate people. I say this all the time. You never know what kind of conversation is going to change hearts and minds. You never know what kind of conversation we're going to have is going to be able to allow people to see us from a different perspective and be able to, join this, this particular train to change as well. So, Emmerich, it has been, I wouldn't say troubling, but an interesting 24 hours. But prior to that, let's use timeline to get us to our main point today. It has been, I believe, since after the elections and George Weah won, there's been this dark cloud hanging over the administration, wherein, a lot of the visits, first and foremost, they've not really scored a visit with the president of the United States. And contrary to whatever they're trying to put forth in terms of the relationship, it is becoming evident that the international community does not really have a strong, view when it comes to, support in terms of the government. And we can go back to the, a lot of letters, including the missing money and the donor funds and all of that to pinpoint to, but specifically coming to this United Nations address, there's been this kind of conversation about a special kind of restricted visa that was issued to the government of Liberia, and why the president is actually restricted and limited in terms of crossing different points as well. And so yesterday, it took a turn wherein, it became evident that the government was trying to do everything that it could to kind of kill this narrative, but in the process of doing it, they were exposed. So I will go ahead and give you a chance to come in as we discuss that issue. What do you make of the flop? And looking at the facts as we know it today, and why is this is kind of a dangerous game for the president and the people of Republic of Liberia? And actually, it should actually let Liberians know that we're in trouble in terms of the government, and the way administration is actually crumbling when it comes to the whole relationships per the international community.
Dude, great point, right? Let's go back. Let's chronicle the foreign affairs minister right now, right? He's alleged for rape in America. The only reason why he came, because of diplomatic immunity. If you look at someone, his wife was given notice to leave the United States of America. Up to this time, you have a government who is shielding him, right? And then he's a part of the entourage. And then go back to the Minister of State without portfolio, or Presidential Affairs, Nathaniel Mcgill, been accused. If you look at the Attorney General, Serena Cephas, also been accused. You go back to the whole leadership in the CDC-led government. We have to be real, right? A whole lot of them, the hierarchy, been accused. Do you think anybody without proper adjudication, proper judiciary process or so and procedure, do you think anybody will take them seriously for what's happening in the country? Nobody's going to take them seriously. They think by telling them to resign, That's it. But that's not the issue. America put up a notice that if you know they have properties anywhere, come forward. You know the reason why? Because all of these things that are happened, the only people that can be able to resolve the issues are, Liberians. The Americans will try the best, but Liberians will be able to resolve their own issues. We're a sovereign nation, but at least America puts a lot into our country. So one way or the other, whether you like it or not, they have a say. If you think they don't have a say, do not depend on their money. So people come out and want to preach politics and be that we're a sovereign nation. You're a sovereign nation, but you can take care of your own problems. You're a sovereign nation, but you cannot feed yourself. You're a sovereign nation, but you depend on other people in order for your government to run. Okay? So if you look at what's happening, they left from Liberia, but then the president is trying to prove a point that whatsoever that is out there with the C2 visa is not true. So it's just a simple thing. If it's not true, be able to publish the visa issued to your entourage. Be able to do it. Publish it will end the whole conversation right there. Some of us will be quiet because you know what? If you go in that extra mile to prove that you can travel to Queens, okay, New York, from the United Nations headquarters, it simply means that you're trying to prove that you're not issued the C2 visa. So it's so simple. All you need to do, just have copies of it and publish it for people to see.
And exactly, and going further into that point, it seems like the Weah administration just doesn't get it in terms of, I don't even want to say diplomacy, but just overall. And this is nothing that surprises me, by the way, because we've said this consistently and throughout this entire process that the government continues to struggle with understanding how or what it should be doing to govern the people. So, as you rightly say, if the government wanted to dispel or stop the conversation about the visa issue, they would have actually published it. What was really troubling is that they released several videos, and we'll go into Roxy, who's fortunate enough to actually live in the United States, and I hope some of the dogs in Liberia had the chance to watch that video and understand that the president's not doing anything to prioritize them. But one thing that was sickening to me is when he took the award out of the box, and I knew that there and then that this man's got a psychological issue. If you were paid to ship an award from Miami, Florida to New York and take out of a box to show to the people that you're actually not on a restricted visa, then it shows the state of mind of the president as well. But when we look at the facts, Emmerich, and we look at the box and everything, what does that tell you? What kind of picture does it paint, right? Is it desperation? Is it ignorance? Is it
But dude,
fire in the face? How would you really term something like
but
that?
it's simple, right? If I have a home and I have my awards and so, I think they will be on the shelf. They'll be in my living room. They will be in my room. They will be the house, right? You won't have them boxed out. If the president of a country, and then I left a dog that trust me, there's no reason why the dog could not have carried the dog to Liberia. Simple as that. There's no way you can say he would not have carried the dog. And if that dog is attached according to him, right? But it does not make sense. You're the president of the country. You have had a dog for all those years, but you cannot take the dog with you to Liberia. It does not make sense, dude, that you have all of your awards and so in a box that you cannot put it on your shelf and put it in your house. That's your house. Whether you're the president or not, that's your home. If your home is your home. Those things are meant to be put up for people to see. Why would you want to show them from the boxes and so? But let's not relegate or let us not bring the issue down to triviality. Let us discuss the meat of this whole trip, the trip to New York.
Yeah. Actually, I was about to jump in there. We're warming off with that particular conversation about the UNGA and the whole 25-mile radius, and just letting people know that something's hanging over this government. It was childish on the president's behalf, and at the end of the day, the truth here stands that there's still something question there about that entire process, and hopefully, it can go away. But the most important part, as you stated, is why they were here, right? And the backdrop of the United Nations General Assembly is where world leaders come together to be able to talk about global issues and how they've been able to use the resources given to them by these big countries and big donors, right, to be able to improve the lives of the people and the agenda, in accordance with the global, overall objective per leadership in the United Nations as well. We will attempt to go into different parts and pieces of that address. But one thing I want to quickly bring here for us to start the segment with is this. Part of the president's speech, he said, this commitment is reflected, meaning that the commitment of the United Nations, the goals and all of that stuff, is reflected in the Purple Agenda for Prosperity and Development, which embodies the expression of our shared determination to achieve peace, prosperity, national development, address extreme poverty, inequalities, regional disparities, infrastructure deficits, climate change, and equitable distribution of national wealth, of our national wealth. When you hear the president say something like this and link it to the Purple Agenda and trying to imply that that's exactly what they're doing, it doesn't take long before we pick it apart. So that's what we're going to do. When we talk about the Purple Agenda and we talk in this president's speech, talking about one of the things that they've been able to do is to address extreme poverty. Americ, let's look at the current status, the current situation in Liberia and the so-called purple
Well, it's a simple thing, very, very simple. The president spoke on those lines, right? But he did not tell how many people were below the poverty level. What's the poverty level in Liberia?
I say that.
How many people were below the poverty level? And then after he implemented the policy, the Purple Agenda, and so, how many people got lifted up from the poverty level to the middle class level? You see, this is when you want to speak on these issues, you have to give factual evidence and be able to quantify it. Okay, you can just come and run through speeches and so tell the people, okay, we have the population, the workforce, the age of the workforce at the time. We have XYZ number of people. After we implemented it, about 10%, about maybe 10,000, 50,000 people. Now we see they are middle class citizens because of the agenda. These are things that we have to start to be serious about. These are things that can be quantified. But we see the president feels that he can just come and run through speeches because Samuel Toy wrote something and gave it to him to just say. This is the danger. This is the danger of voting for somebody who does not understand the enormity, the intricacy of our issues. You see, when you come and give a speech because you think it was written, but not understanding the intricacy of it, not understanding what is being done, how policies can impact people. If you come in and you talk about the people, but the question is, how were you able to move people from the time you took office from below the poverty line to bring them to the middle class citizens? These are the things, there's no evidence to prove that. First of all, let us look at the whole harmonization with the salary and so. Typical example. Who in a rightful mind do, in the midst of inflation, let us be realistic. In this country, you know what they call COLA, cost of living adjustment, right? Cost of living adjustment, when you find inflation goes up by 3%, they have to increase your salary by 3% to offset, the reaction of inflation. Okay, the adverse reaction of inflation. They do that because if you were making X, Y, Z or so amount of money, right? And then you find inflation taking a toll on your pay, you'll be below, you'll struggle. So in order to mitigate that, they have to give you 3% raise for COLA, for cost of living adjustment. They have to adjust your salary. It's a normal process. And it's the conventional way to do something. But if you look at what's happening in Liberia, you say salary, harmonization. How can you harmonize people's salary when you find inflation, right? and you say you're humanizing by decreasing their pay. It's unconventional. It does not make sense in any real world. That's the reason why people are struggling, even though they are going to work. And some of the reasons why people talk for them, they don't have anything already. They don't want to lose the little amount. That's the reason why you see people, the employees come up, most of them come out and defend. But if you put sense into it, it does not make sense to do that. No real economist will do that.
Yeah, so well, we know from a letter standpoint that this is all a fallacy, totally baseless, completely untrue, right? So we already know that it is baseless. But I want us to go by the numbers here and hold them accountable. First and foremost, he talks about the pro agenda. We know for a fact that the so-called pro agenda has not really yielded any kind of results. And by the way, how many jobs were created under the Weah administration? We don't know for a fact.
No.
And in addition to how many jobs, realistically speaking, where are we in terms of the economy? Completely still rock bottom, actually regressive, if we really want to know. But they put something in here, and I think we'll go ahead and say, he said, given that Liberia's youthful population of more than 60%, my government initiated youth rehabilitation and empowerment program, the social economic empowerment of disadvantaged youth project between 2019 2021, with the subsequent launch of a 13 million United States dollars national fund drive for the rehabilitation empowerment of irate youth in Liberia. Emmerich, this is very vital because I want you to quickly take a look at it. And some of the things, the reason why we do this is because we want to fact check the government. And we do that by providing evidence, right? Proofs, tangible, that the people can look at. And so it doesn't appear as if we have just made some things to accuse the government of Liberia. The government of Liberia claims that it provided $13 million to address the issues impacting disadvantaged young people. Emmerich, we have proof here. I want you to listen.
Yeah.
We want to suffer and die again and say we're going to go cash our food. Well, one rehab can't be built.
This is from the house's mouth. When we talk about the disadvantaged population, we're talking about the people who you see, like that young lady. Actually, she's a familiar face when it comes to that particular community, especially from the Zimbabwe ghettos and other ghettos around. Very, recognizable face. Here is somebody whose impact is telling you, who's actually one of the most vocal persons within that community. Admitting here, and this is weeks before the president went to the United Nations General Assembly, letting you know there's nothing that's being done to address that issue. The government, the president has failed them, and election time is coming again for them to bring the empty promises. When you hear the government of Liberia through the president telling global world leaders that he has invested resources into combating, and there's been some kind of shift in terms of those that are impacted, and you see a video like this, what do you make of that? And what does that show in terms of the lack of credibility from the Weah administration?
Well, dude, it's not only that video, it's all around the country. Now it's spread in different communities outside of Liberia, outside of Montserrat. Before the issue of Zogo, excuse me, this is how they keep on calling them. Before that issue was, focused in Montserrat, but later now we see in other parts of the country, right? So if you had $13 million put into the program, where institutions, let's ask the president what was built to rehabilitate people, because I think this is what's happening, right? He's talking about these things, but they are quadrupling. Okay, they are on the increase, they are on the rise. It shows that he's not truthful, because you can't be talking about putting 13 million into the youth that are challenged, all right, mentally challenged, the people that went through the war, right, did not have a full-scale rehabilitation. You talk about bringing them back to the society as normal people. How many people can the president be able to show that came from that background and were able to go through the program that he put $30 million in, and they are normal citizens today. They have been claimed. Where can we find the data? Where can we find those people that we can be able to interview and say, okay, truthfully speaking, our issue is not to come and always counter the government. That's not our issue. We'll be very glad to see that these things are actually happening. But these things are not happening. So what do you want to tell me? The president is not truthful. He's lying. He's not truthful.
And
the people.
We know it's absolutely untrue, and that's why we bring video evidences. In addition to the facts we already know to pinpoint that, we know that there was not any amount of resources poured into addressing that issue. We know based upon all of the things that we see within Liberia, the happenings, the true happenings, and people who have some level of familiarity with that particular situation will tell you that it was dishonest. And that particular speech was geared towards pushing fallacies as opposed to actually providing real life tangibles of things that are really being, impacting the ordinary Liberians, in accordance to what the president was suggesting. So we move on to the speech, but we move on into another part of it that had you laughing. We have seen this kind of trouble with, cleaning up Monrovia. And we know that the city mayor has been very lazy in doing his job. And actually, a lot of foreign visitors have complained. If you go on YouTube, you see a bunch of videos wherein people have actually, questioned the kind of sanitary conditions of the country up there as well. The president in his speech talked about climate change, and he spoke about ways in which Liberia has been helping to take on this issue. Well, I can outright call it a fallacy, as we all know that, but I want you to actually delve into that a little more. What do you make of that? Is this president actually stating the truth, stating the facts, based upon the realities, the truths that we know? What is it that you think the president's done, that's actually tinted the image of the country in the wrong manner? And why do you also think that it was a poor decision to go out there openly in front of world leaders and lie in addition to all the things that he said about climate change? Do you think there's some kind of motive behind in terms of fundings that they're trying to push for, and they're putting all of these things in terms of climate change to see if they can hit that kind of bucket to get additional resources for to aid the corruption habits?
But you see, what he forgets is before you even go to the UNGA to give a speech, right? These things are already chronicled and they are recorded. You see, your activities are already recorded. Right. So go over there is I would say is ceremonious. The reason why I say it's ceremonious because they already have. You find all the NGOs are in Liberia, right? The United Nations is also in Liberia. They work over there with different nonprofit groups. So anything you say did not just go into just believe it because you say it. Okay, what's really happening in Liberia is sad that he will talk about climate change when he does not even understand what climate change is. Okay, the rainy season before we have, if you can remember, we have specific time frame for the rainy season. Now we don't even understand the rainy season can be anytime. Even sometimes too, it rains in December, it rains in November, and so when we talk about climate change, talking about the shift in the climate and the temperature and the climate, all right, the shift. So you find even before it used to snow a lot in Minnesota. Sometimes too, it does not even snow, even though it gets really cool. 1 year, I remember, it did not snow. It's because of the activity, human activities, and so. On my point there, what has he implemented? What policy? What has he implemented to be able to show that carbon monoxide
fit in the way due to poor human habits that's causing erosion that's actually the climate?
So that's human activities.
Right.
So my point there, what have you put in place to show that where we did things? For instance, the people that do coal mining and so burning coal, cutting the forest and so. What have you done to say they have stopped it, to look for another way to be able to make money, because that's their daily lives, and so and the way they live, the way they feed their families. What have you done to be able to mitigate that? What have you put in place? What measures have you put in place for people to stop the deforestation? What have you put in place that people that go on the mine and so will stop mining and stop and doing the core business? Nothing. When you come on, you just blabber and talk about these things, and you think that the UN, this is how the President Weah feels. He thinks the UN is a place that, the way you go and lecture people on the soccer field, he thinks that's what it is. But people are there for serious business. People are there to give accountability of what they have done. Because when it comes to the universal measures and so of these things, you have to conform to it. When it comes to climate change, that started in Paris, right, Duke?
Yeah.
They got measures. You see, the reason why today we have failed the MCC score is because we are not serious as a country. We got people that are incompetent. That's the reason why we have not passed any of those things. And that's the reason why money that we got before, fundings that we got before, we're not getting those fundings anymore because of the lack of competence. And we've seen it. The president will come and blabber about these things, but in actuality, these things are not happening. And then when we try to checkmate them, they come and say, oh, opposition, they jealous, they hateful, and so. One point, if the president, if you reduce yourself to the trivial stuff of the country, then we all will discuss you going to see Roxy, and Roxy doesn't even know you. Roxy does not know you, and you like a real stranger to Roxy. Roxy should be taken to Liberia. You should have put Roxy on the plane to go with you. So these are the things you see.
Roxy should have gone to Liberia to meet poor no friend. But
yeah, but that's what's happening. So let us not get sidetracked by these things. Let us discuss the real issue. The real issue that there's nothing about climate change in Liberia, no policy, nothing being done. Let us not come and lie because we want funding.
Well, the president was openly telling the lie at the United Nations General Assembly, and we're breaking down the different parts of the species and ripping them apart and just talking about the truths and making sure that people can actually use their own minds and make the right determinations when it comes to Liberia. Another important part that the president wrote about in his speech had to do with democracy. He said, democracy in Liberia also continues to grow from strength to strength. And he said, after many years of civil upheaval, Liberia is becoming a stronghold of peace and safe haven for democracy. He said, this is because we've taken actions in the last few years to build, strengthen democratic institutions, such as the press, the Liberian judiciary. We've put forth new legislation that empowers the media while eradicating those that have tended to suppress free speech. I'm proud to say that from the beginning of my administration to this day, there's no political prisoner. This is another, trash, and I will give you a chance to delve into that. But let me just, poke through things a little bit. The president talked about creating policies to strengthen our democracy and judicial institutions. Well, this was the same president and his government through the sanctioned Solicitor General that the United States actually wrote in that letter that it used to sanction him. That one of the things that the Weah administration was doing to that Solicitor General is to, use their strength to kind of influence, decision making when it comes to the judiciary part of government as well. He talked about not having political personnel. I remember there was a young man from ANC that was recently jailed over a social media post, and I remember one of his close lieutenants said that he was a political prisoner. There's a theme here, there's a pattern, right? And there's a consistency in terms of lies and intentional lies being pushed by the George Weah administration. When you look at democracy, when you look at political prisoners, when you look at this so-called policies to improve or actually that's empowered the judicial system, the democracy and press freedom in Liberia, again, back to the speech, what do you make of that? And where are we going with this?
I think we can interchange political prisoner, political hostage. If you look at the case of Kabina, okay, that's a hostage situation over there. The reason why I would say hostage situation, if you look at what happened, all right, it was orchestrated by design that today Kabina Jana is no more on the Supreme Court bench. And then when you look at the government was wrong in the wrong because the ECOWAS court told them that they were wrong and they have to reinstate him. But what's happening today? They have not reinstated him. They have not done so. And when you look at the pattern of this government, from one person to the other, most cases they are in error. They are in error because they think that Liberia is a country they call sovereign country. We have our own way of doing things, right? But then that's the reason why you see today someone like Serena Cephas is in that trouble, that problem, because he was being used to clamp down on opposition. If you look at the case, the trial with Mr. Cummings, that should not have even gone to court, right? All of the delays, the money spent, and so it's because of the bad behaviors, bad practices of them. They come after you because they are not sophisticated enough. They don't know what they are doing, so they come after you, all these lies, and so they make up these things. And that's exactly what Serena Cephas is in the problem today. I know he's having regrets as to why, or he should not have done those things. He's having regrets, but he was being used, and he was trying to flex his muscles to show to the president that he's a powerful person. He can stand up for him instead of his loyalty to the country. And that's one of the problems I see us as people that we have in our country. We should have loyalty to our country more than loyalty to any person, because we all can be gone today. Liberia will remain. And that's one thing, one concept we have not understood. And that's the reason why I think civic education, as we educate our people, it will do them well. It will do them well. You see Ghana. Dude, you see Ghana today. Ghana is Ghana, and Ghana is prosperous. It's not because Ghana wake up, but Ghana, their intention to carry on civic education was something that was done. It was intentional to say our people lack the education, our people lack the tools, and so to think for themselves, to think in the right direction. We'll have to educate that population. There's no country that can move forward without brains, without knowledge. No country. But Liberia thinks that you can move the country forward if you cheer George Weah and you don't want to go to school, but you're cheering. Be a cheering squad. And you think Liberia can move forward if you sing praises onto George Weah, but not to put yourself in a position to say you are important. It's about you. It's about your life. It's about your children. It's not going to change. If it's not going to change, if you don't know how important you are to your country, but you know how important you are to George Weah, it's not going to change. Because whether you like it or not, George Weah will expire. Nobody pray for any unfortunate situation in life to say wish death on him. But it's a fact. We all live. We are going to be gone. We are not going to be around. We are not going to be in the same position that we're in now, a few years from now. Things will change. That's how the world is. And there's no way you'll see grown-up people that call themselves educated people, will turn to being uneducated in order to please George Weah, who has a master's degree. We see it. People that are educated, they say, oh, I have to be uneducated to satisfy George Weah. And that's the problem we are having. Instead of them being proud of their education and push the country, the agenda of the country, they are trying to appease George Weah. And that's a problem because he doesn't have class. He's not sophisticated. So they think that, oh, there's no way I can be sophisticated. Then George Weah will see me as a threat if I am sophisticated. So when you look at some of the people, right, truthfully speaking, these things I see, someone like Len or UJ or Nangwe, and so he has become the information minister, right? So you see what's happening to the country. Now he's at the UNGA. He's the information minister right now, whereas he expecting to be with Lance and not with Maritime. He's with Maritime. But this is a country that we all live in, and we know how our people think. Our people, this is it. They know the truth. But they're like, any people supported, this is the excuse, the justification. Any people supported, and this person already grouped them before, so we will support They'll give them 12 years. So we got to give Judge we are 12 years.
Give eventually, because I know, with
Right.
the country, the economy, we cannot just continue that path. But one of the last points on that speech, and then we'll go into the Nathaniel McGill there, because I think there's so much in that speech we'll cover in additional episodes, especially coming up with on apologetic too as well. Emmerich said at the latter part of the speech that in the run up to 2023 elections, it is incumbent upon all prospective candidates to avoid the incitement or violence and any other behavior that could deprive the Liberian people of a peaceful space that they need to freely exercise their franchise and freely express their political will in choosing their leaders. We must let the people decide, and then we must respect their decision. That is indeed the true essence of democracy. Meanwhile, we'll continue to count on the United Nations and other various bilateral and multilateral partners for financial, technical, and institutional capacity building support. When you see in the General Assembly speech where it is being weaved into setting the stage as if those who are critical of the government lapses are violent, and almost setting the stage that they should respect the decision of the people, it has to be troubling that, especially with elections coming up, that there could be some kind of sinister attempt by the government to want to actually interfere with the results of the general election. What do you make of that point? And if in fact that's something that's being planned by the government, why it is going to be a dangerous path to even walk on, sensing that they're already an unpopular institution, and we have a fragile nation that's already suffering from the lack of leadership under the Weah administration.
I think it's just a scare tactic, right? A scare tactic to show that they're falling apart. They don't have what it takes. If you find a government that going to be voted upon based on the disorganization or the disunity of the opposition party, then you're weak. You are weak. It's a fact. If it's not based on what you have done for the past 5-6 years, but the disunity of the opposition, then you are very, very weak. So let's be hypothetical right now. What if the opposition comes together in the last 2 or 3 months? But what you do, you never ever have a message for the people, a message to run on. And all of these things that are written over there, just scare tactic to, no, I'll be clear about it. And I'm a number person. If you able to increase the voter registration, right, significantly, it's a clear cut that Judge we are going to be out.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
So, but if we cannot encourage people to go and vote, and the opposition is not united, which of course that's the only chance Judge Weah thinks that he's going to have, then you say, okay, he's going to have a chance. But if we're going to increase, we're going to boost voters' participation in this election. Normally, if you look at our population, we don't even have more than 1 million people voting in the second round. No, it's always less. So if we increase it significantly to say we encourage people to go and vote, okay, we'll have more than 2 million people voting in the country. And it can happen because we got voting age more than 2 million people. Judge Weah cannot win. So the whole fear mongering, and so those are things that were done in the past, right? They did it in the past. They created a system where they wanted to make the country ungovernable. And that's the only way they thrive. That's the only way they can make it. But this time around, Liberians, our eyes are open. We are going to be in the trenches. We are going to be in different communities. And so we're not going to be sitting on Facebook. This time around, we're going to be interacting with our people directly to see how we can increase the voter registration, to see how we can encourage more people to go and vote, because it's their civic duty and right to do those things, to vote. If you don't vote, people will vote for you. You cannot quarrel or make noise after that. You cannot do it. So we want to keep, look, dude, this is a fight. This is a fight for the sovereignty of our country. A fight to redeem our country. A fight is not a fight about the natives and the Congos and so. This is a fight about people that are incompetent, that are, occupied, places that it should not be. It's not personal. It's not out of spite that we talk. It's not out of spite that we criticize them. It's because they just don't have the knowledge and the skills and, the ability to move the country forward. And we're seeing it. How many foreign direct investment have they attracted? None.
Yeah,
None.
but
Not getting chance.
no. In addition to that, that's a smart part. When I heard it, sinister, whatever, we had to put it out there in the air so people know. But it was funny to me, and I thought for a second, who do these guys think they are? You're not some of those brutal. I mean, let me not say brutal per se, but you're not somebody who speaks and people actually see any value in the things that you say. You don't threaten the international community, or you don't put things out there to make people think that you're actually warning somebody about interfering in your democracy. You're actually a money laundering entity that continues to put the entire sub-region at risk. You have actually squandered, international partners' monies. They've told you that. Going into the UNGA, your government, the one of the closest person to the presidency, not Mcgill, the one who was widely believed to have led the government while the president went on all these foolish trips around the country, was sanctioned for corruption and a lot of things that are against what your international partners say. So who are you to think that you can come and openly tell people about democracy and protecting the peace? By the way, hello, everybody knows what's going to happen in the next few months. More of your government officials and individuals around you are going to get sanctioned. The government's going to continue to receive this kind of treatment from the international community because it understands that you are the problem. So nothing you're going to do is going to put fear in the people. Matter of fact, this government is at a more vulnerable time than in 2017. They have actually lost their base. They're actually struggling to gain any kind of traction. And I think that's just wasted energy. But then again, in the opposition bloc, especially with the ANC, there needs to be this massive shift towards making sure there's increment in terms of mobilization, voter registration, and making sure that we're getting those individuals who are not normally pushed to be part of the elections to go out and vote. And it starts with your family members, letting them know that you have to be out there to vote because there is a realistic chance that this government is going to be kicked off and the international pressure is going to pile up on the government of Liberia. And I think there's something that they were sensing and they tried to bring out in the speech there as well. Emre, you have any follow up on that?
Yeah, Duke, if you look at our country right now, the students are not happy. Okay, civil servants, they're not happy. So if you look at our population, right, then look at the students. They are not happy because the quality of education, they don't have it. And then the rise in tuition, it's impacting most of the parents. And I hope the parents are listening. The reason why these things are happening, because we put a government in place that don't understand what to do. That you can't talk about free tuition and then the university is telling you that there's so much money owed to them. So and it's clear.
That's a clear example of wasted policy.
Right, wasted policy. You forget about the quality, and because you think you want to make a political decision, right? That's a political move to say, oh, free tuition and so. But now the university students are going through real serious problem. A serious problem they are going through. So you see, if you make a decision based on scoring political points, these are the things.
We're talking about policies in the UNGA speech when we have something that they went and actually created a mess at the University of Liberia today.
Yeah, it is messy. It is messy. When you talk to the students and so it is messy. The quality of education dropped. We didn't already have it, dropped significantly because of the free tuition. And so in the free tuition, the university now, the teachers are not even being paid.
And
The system is messy. But let us move forward, dude.
And I think Yeah, I think we'll probably see in the near future where Roxy will probably become a professor at the University of Liberia because
It's still possible. It's still possible for Roxy. Roxy will not leave for Liberia because Roxy will be asking, say, who am I going to in Liberia? That's not the owner. I'm not, going to be going to Liberia. But let
so
us,
every
let us look
on
at
our final section tonight, we hit that 1 hour mark that we're
right.
talking to, and then we can probably spin off into something quick.
Right.
So,
If you look at what's happening, dude, it's sad that people think that no matter what, this is the concept that some people have. No matter what, will defend our president. No matter what, that concept is a bad concept to say no matter what. Then the justification, oh, but you allow Ellen 12 years, so and that's the benchmark now. You're looking at the benchmark. You allow Ellen. Okay, let's play the devil's advocate and say I didn't support Ellen, but let's play the devil's advocate. Ellen's time, the closest time we can measure to George Weah's time. Let us be truthful about it. By far, Ellen by far better. People will come and say, "Oh, Ellen Tanya will not criticize you or not doing these things." How do you know? George Weah didn't criticize her, bro. They criticized her, but when they came in, they could not even audit her. So you see the deception right there. So it wasn't about criticizing Ellen. It's about them. It's about them being in that position, not to audit because they didn't want transparency from the get-go. They didn't want fairness from the get-go. They did not want anything from the get-go but for themselves. Because as soon as President Weah came, he ate it, made it out, he made playing soccer. He had not spent it through all whole life, right? But he started to spend it right away.
yeah, exactly.
It's a show proof. And he can't show proof. Oh, he had the money keeping someone. He had the money keeping someone. He used to beg better than euro.
Man, the house was completely stripped off the wall.
Right. He used to beg. He used to beg better than euro. He used to come to James, or how to call him, the best man who got put in jail, the drug law, who got put in jail or arrested when George Weah arrested him. He would beg the guy for money and the guy would be buying plane ticket for him. All these things we see. Yet it's still Liberians. We still have this mindset. Sometimes I think that we need to have more psychologists and psychiatrists in our country to help redirect the mindset of our people, because nowhere, anywhere in the world, normal people will think the way our people think, some of our people think. And I think, like I always talk with Dr. Francine, I say, you'll see reason to put a psychologist in our country to carry on full-scale rehabilitation, because our people, I don't know, they have lost their sense of a sense of thinking and a sense of direction and a sense of goodness for themselves, to look at themselves and say, we are important too. We can't stay and be supporting a person who hasn't demonstrated anything tangible. He hasn't demonstrated anything tangible. It hurts him that he got no class. It hurts him that he's not sophisticated. It hurts him that he cannot lead the country. So what he does, he hides behind the pulpit in the church to be able to spew the, excuse my French, foolishness, and thinking that it's going to help him. He hides behind these people who want to see him chanting battle cries. And so these are, sad times in our history. What we see, our president is no more of substance. He went to the United Nations, he's of no substance, no reality. Nothing in his speech is a reality. And people praising, he has a master's degree, but the expectation so low that they be hanging up and be waiting and biting their finger and say, hey, Lord, can't wait for the president to be finished. Oh my God, he finished. Thank God.
The president, I mean, imagine this is
Right.
but honest. Look, in as much as it sounds funny, this is how low we've brought the office of the presidency, wherein there are people who are actually biting the nails and will come to social media being excited that this man, at least he tried. I mean, it tells you about the state of the country, the dangers of electing people who are not really pushed to inspire and motivate a population of 5 million people that need somebody to get them off their feet.
Right.
And talking about the mindset, the psychic of our people as our final point that we're gonna delve into, Emmerich. It has been troubling for some people looking at images from Margibi County. For me, honestly speaking, I keep telling you, Liberians, especially some of us in the opposition, or some of you who are not affiliated with political parties and see these images and get disappointed. Let me tell you this. Look, in every country, there will be people who like evil. We see in the case of Donald Trump, and we saw people, for some reason, he appealed to people who were racist, who did not like, black people. That's the kind of base because he said those things. But just because he had X amount of millions of people following him or in his corner supported, remember, a vast majority of people voted for Donald Trump. Does that mean that society accepts that or the United States believes that's the way going forward? Good people stood up in the election and voted against that mess, and it brought in the leadership that kind of governs them the way in which they're expected. When we see the Nathaniel Mcgill, an indicted global criminal, man who's been sanctioned by the international community, the US government, and we see people in crowds going in. I mean, let's forget about the people and just come to Mcgill. You've got to think that the United States now or international partners should start thinking about another solution in addition to what they've already done with the sanction. Since the so-called justice system that the president claims that he has strengthened cannot take ownership to hold these people accountable, you've got to think there's something outside of the scope of leadership in Liberia that now will have to tighten up those punishment against individuals like Nat McGill, the Prince Johnson, and all of them that have actually ended up on U.S. sanction lists. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these institutions, the individuals that are still openly supportive of them, start facing economic challenges because of their affiliation. And even in turn, we don't want it to happen, but if you continue to support these people, I mean, the consequences could spill over to an entire country because it tends to isolate them from the rest of the world. But what do you make of that? And what kind of sense can we bring up, first and foremost, to let people know to just calm down a little bit, don't generalize it, and just see exactly for what it is, a cunning, a deceptive attempt by corrupt individuals to think that they're putting this message that they have a support base of people who still believe in them, when in fact, the people who have been impacted, real Liberians understand that they're nothing but bunch of shams, bunch of fraudsters, and that's what they're going to be.
Do the sad part, right? They are using all of these things to change the narrative and appeal to the people because they think our people not educated, you can't read and write. This is what they are doing. Or they want force of government on us and on you people. And that's the narrative. So we have to be very careful in playing into this. We have to talk directly to our people. So if you have a sanction, imposed, on individuals, right? They are changing the narrative to know to present to our people as if the international community already they don't want Josh Weah, they're doing all these things because they want to force Mr. Cummings in there, right? They don't want President Weah, they're doing all these things to force Mr. Cummings on you people. That's the politics they are playing. That's the dirty politics they are playing. They want to appeal to the voters and say, you people don't want Mr. Cummings, but that's lie. That's not true. A good portion of our population are realizing that Mr. Cummings is the one. So we need to keep on working hard and sending the message out there and telling his plans for Liberia and so. Because all they do, they just want to keep lying to the people. And it's one of the reasons why they cannot deliver. Because the expectation of the people when they took over was high. And then they cannot meet up with the expectation of the people. They don't know how to manage the expectation of the people. So all they do right now is to lie. That's all they do. And they keep playing to that. And let us not play to that too. We can't go take for that, but to be able to deliver the message and tell them how we're going to be different from them. How we going to be able to be take people from the poverty line and bring them to, because you cannot run any country or a middle class. And right now Liberia is one of the problems. We don't have a middle class in Liberia. That's one of the reasons why the economy is struggling. No middle class, either a poor person or you're a rich person, rich in terms of you can afford the daily necessities and so in the country. So that's all they're doing. But then what we need to do, we need to keep engaging our people and telling them, look, the sanction and so it's not to target the entire country. The sanction and so for those that or are stopping you from, being prosperous. The sanction for those that are taking away from you, because you talk about the Constitution talks about equitable distribution of wealth, right? We don't see it in Liberia. The reason why we don't see it in Liberia because Mcgill told us that in Bon County, he told us that they say we're stealing, at least we can take the money and build homes and good homes, and so that tomorrow, y'all will come and see those homes, for
Your word for it. Let's go.
You could have your phone thing all the folks stealing money. But even if I see the money again, like brand for that good thing. Because Ali and I see that carrying in Europe. I see the money again. I see the money again. I see the money again. I see the.
So here's the video Emery was talking about in the opening, and I think a week later on, that's when he ended up on U.S. sanction.
Yeah. So the point I was making too, and it's good thing you just play it, right? That's how they treat our people. What do you have to say you're going to steal and give them little cents money when you can create opportunities for them to be on the same level with you? For me, this is how I see life. It's not about me. It's about bringing people to my level or above my level. It's about people growing the same way. That's how you find a country to be secure. That's how you find, because if you, the only person who is able to afford, that's a national risk. That's a risk to the entire country. But people don't understand that. But if everybody can afford the least thing in life to be able to send their children to school, buy them what you want to buy them, their sneakers, their Christmas, something, to me, it's not a national risk when it comes to our security, because everybody can afford. If everybody can afford, the basic commodities and so in the country, that's really, really good. And this is how we should be thinking. But they are not thinking that way, because they in the land of the blind, they say the one-eyed man, the king, right? But then they want to be the one-eyed person. I don't want to be the one-eyed person. I don't want to be. That's why some of us learn to empower people around us to be on the same level or to be above. There's nothing wrong with it. It reduces the risk on me. It reduces the burden on me. Any civilized person will always want people around him or her to do good, because it reduces the pressure. It takes the pressure off you. And this is the mindset that someone like Mr. Cummings has when it comes to empowerment, building capacity. Those things help a whole lot in any country. When you build capacity, you help people with macro loans. You do those things. It brings people to a point where they can afford for themselves, that they won't have to rely on you. They won't be a burden on anybody. So thank you. Thank you for the talk, the chat.
Yeah, great conversation, Emric. And I think we will continue to expand on this. I'm glad that we're returning unapologetics, returning to the airways starting next weekend as well. Where we will be able to bring some kind of light to this conversation. But final point from you, Emric, and then I will come in. There you can go ahead and state your final
Now, I
point.
would just like to thank our viewers tonight. I know people will watch this after year. I would like to thank everyone for your support, and let us go out there and spread the message to our respective neighborhoods and so where we grew up. And we can't stop talking about Liberia because we love our country dearly. And it's not out of spite that we will come and discuss and talk about the wrongness of this government. So we need to highlight these issues with our people. We need to call to attention. Each time we find a lie, we will still find people that will be adamant, would not want to believe it because they are fanatics. You can't help it. You always find fanatics in life, but your truth is your truth. Stick to the truth. I always advise you to be a part of this whole discourse, the political dispensation of our country. Because if you're not a part of it, what's going to happen? The wrong people are going to be making decisions for you. Like some of us who kept quiet for so long, decisions that were made were all wrong decisions today. We are all suffering. We are all going through it. We all get pressured by people from home asking for help. I don't blame them, but this time around, it's up to them to be able to make the right decision. We not apart from them. People try to pit us against them to say we are different people. We are overseas and we want to come and do this. They do that to distract you. But I would say go out and talk to your communities, go out and talk to your people. start to engage with them. Our people not stupid. Our people are smart. They are brilliant people. And I will say thank you and good night.
Thank you, Emric. I appreciate it. Listening, we'll do this because we believe that we have the voice, to be able to educate our people, to actually bring some sort of clarity to the dispensation, as we'll call it. The reason why we do this also is because we realize that, in history or throughout history, it takes bold people, courageous people to bring forth their ideas themselves to be able to inspire the next generation to fight for change in Liberia. What we discussed tonight are all things that we hope that you can continue to share and listen to afterwards, because at the end of the day, let me tell you, at the end of the day, this is how we were able to educate our people and make sure that our people are getting their fair share of governance in Liberia. So on that note, Emric, it has been a pleasure. Let me shout out to a few people here. I see Koto was on here. Amiata the Kenan, Yomo Trail, Kranger. Marilla say, "Hey guys, one of you need to check it." Yes, the bar trade needs to be changed. I
Yeah,
think
it's me.
we'll put it on there too. Mine needs to be changed. They're gonna put it out here too. I got the security system here so they can monitor that too. And let me know. Lafayette's here. I saw Dola Care's here. A lot of you, I appreciate you for following the John Eddie from all the way Grand Bassa. Thank you as well. I want to say Rita Zena was here, Rosalind Diggs. All of you have actually been here supportive of us. Listen, let me tell you this. We can't do this if your support or you're not constantly supporting us. Those of us who are speaking messages of hope and bringing some sort of clarity to the conversation, we continue to rely on you. We want to say thank you for believing us and showing us that you actually are here for Liberia as well. So on that note, I want to leave you with a song. If you have chance, please support Liberian music. Go on YouTube, go on Spotify, go on all of the things, Apple Music, and look for Panto Enemies. This song, I believe, tells you all about our country, all about Liberia and Liberians. If we come together and we can speak boldly about the happenings in Liberia, the things that are impacting our people, and just understand that this is about lifting our country. And those who support George Weah don't see us as people who are tearing him down, but people who want right for the country. And some of the same things they stood before when the protested against Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that Weah is now being or following the same examples. We need to make sure we're working together. So on that note, Emric. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bringing this thing to the light so I can have different viewpoints and have multiple. My back. On the note, this is your boy Duke Estrada. JJ, I apologize about the sound. I'm saying that we have some good things coming your way, starting with Unapologetic. I'm using the multi-camera feature where we'll be able to bring people from different radio stations to feed through the program. But it has been a blessing tonight to just hear you following us and listening to all that we have to say. We believe that there's a greater purpose for what we do. We believe that transformation is coming to Liberia. We believe that our best days are ahead. But before we get to that destination, we have to collectively fight for our country. On that note, my people, my name is Duke Estrada JJ, and I want to say thank you. Kissy Man will say, Malaka, thank you. That's it. God, thank you. All right. And I want to say appreciate all of you. Tonight was a great short show, but Thanks to Ember Benson, Nico. Thanks to all of you. And I want to say good night from my end. I appreciate all of y'all. And next, as part of the Liberian music to the word, I'm going to go ahead and actually close out with Spot on Fire by MC Caro. My people, you're listening though. We got to do it. You know what? I'll switch it back. Tomorrow I'll play MC Caro Spot on Fire. Let me do Petit by KCW. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I want to bring my podcast to an end.
If I got problems,
Petit by the man KCW. Duke has tried the JJ at controls from Studio NC. Bringing the vibes, bringing good music and good programming to you. On that note, I want to say your good night. And thank you all for following us. Continue to share the link. God bless you. God bless Liberia. ABC 2023.
my body's so Jasmine. She get it back from Big Justin. Darling, I'm for you. All for you. My back too. Are you feeling my back too? My baby she tell me say she love my style. She really wanna be the one to walk down. Let me just die if I ever break your heart. If I ever lie, if I ever leave.
This is Liberian music for us. KCW, my people. Let's support Liberian music.
When you give me peace of mind, I know that you don't ever wanna see me frown. Now they got love I'm looking for, doing anything. Where you are, where you come from, where you from, son, I must not wanna compare. Sorry, what she doesn't contest. Boy, if you force her to show yourself, she will lay you down flat, that's so bad. That's my baby, yeah. You can blow all your own wrist. That's my baby, yeah. All of them now they want my Betty, oh yeah. She wanna see romance, oh yeah. My body's so Jasmine, oh yeah. She get it back from Big Justin, oh yeah. Falling hard for you, oh yeah. Hard dance too, oh yeah. My back too, oh yeah. When you feeling my back too, oh yeah. All of them now they want my Betty, oh yeah. She wanna see romance, oh yeah. My body's so Jasmine, oh yeah. She get
If I ever said I love you, man, I swear I love you long time. Cause me, I'm mad over you, and I may be mad over run time. And if anybody but that, you. I'ma always be ready for you. There is nothing that I wouldn't do. I say you're my one and only you. It's alright. This summer, keep my company, set the drama. Be my mama, be my dada. Hey, me no one know yawa. Step in the spot on fire. Run it back, DJ. This one brother, just to the weekend, $1 million. I, me no one know yawa. Step in the spot on fire. Run it back, DJ. This one.
massive